All right, I'm here with MLG CEO Sundance, and it's Sunday. It's Championship Sunday. How's the event gone so far for you guys?
It's been good. I'd classify it as a success so far, definitely.
Have you guys gotten as many viewers as you thought you would? Are you guys above or below what you were expecting?
Well, we had, the whole thing has been based upon kind of a calculation, and so we had a baseline that we were hoping to hit in order to cover the costs, and then we had kind of, a low, medium, and high, and the medium was to cover the costs, and so we've done really well. We've actually done above the number that I had circled as my guess. The whole point of this was to see whether or not this could work and be successful and lead to doing more of them, and so far the answer is yes.
So it's pretty cool seeing the players play and have the New York skyline in the background. I know that in the initial plans this was going to be just New York and then maybe move to Columbus, but are you guys going to do more in New York? I hope you do.
Well, I think, based on, this is our office, this is our headquarters, this is where, I'm from and where the company's based. And now that we've gotten the office cleaned up a little bit, I mean, you saw it before, what it used to look like. I think we're going to leave it this way. I think the idea is that, this now is configured around doing what we do best, which is live competition. So, there will be more here in New York. We will look to change them up a little bit maybe. Looking at maybe getting a little bit more of the space that's on this floor so we can have spectators come in at some point later in the year. No guarantees there, but I'm going to start exploring all kinds of things to try and make this more of what the vision was of having that arena, maybe that we were looking at in Columbus with 100 to 200 to 300 people coming in and watching it. But for now, what I can commit to is that you'll at the very least see this structure, this format, a couple more times in spring.
I've been looking at the feedback in the forum and on Reddit, and it's been pretty positive. Were you guys expecting this, or were you expecting just like, oh, I can't watch, and people screaming?
Well, I think the danger that you've got is like we've got this very vocal community, and which is something I love. I mean, people. I consider us kind of this weird, dysfunctional, very large family, with a lot of cousins and things, and we agree on the core, and the core is that we all love this, right? And so, but the how sometimes we disagree on, or the what is not what some people would like to see. But my concern coming into this is that we'd have a lot of people looking at it and saying, I refuse to pay, I'm not going to give them a chance, and I'm going to take every opportunity I get to bash it. And there's been some of that, but the responses I've gotten and I've seen have been overwhelmingly positive. I expected 50-50. It's been more like 85-15, positive to negative. And the negative has been, and this is completely warranted, is that I don't have the money or I can't afford it, and I'm missing out. And I understand that, and that's not ideal. But again, there's going to be certain things that are going to have to be structured in a way where there is a pay component in order for us to see what this business can become. Again, everything's free after a week. The replays and VODs will be released, a week from Monday. There's bar crafts, there's pooling, there's all kinds of things that people can do. I mean, there have been restreams going on all weekend, and while I can't condone that, there's a part of me that's like, at least people are getting to see some of the product until those are shut down. This isn't an attempt to try and pull money out of other people's pockets and for me to, buy myself nice things. It's an attempt to try and find out whether or not we can do more of this. And the answer right now is yes, we can.
So are you looking forward to maybe some good Photoshops of you? I mean, I saw the Darth Vader one.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't feel like I'm a victim when people do that. I get a kick out of it, and I have a sense of humor. And again, it's like people express themselves, and if that's the way they want to do it, that's fine. And we even rolled with that a little bit. Some guys in the office were doing it as a joke, and I was like, let's do more. I just, I want people to understand that while I pay attention to that feedback, the feedback that I pay the most attention to is the person who says, look, I love what you guys do. I watch the free matches on, Friday and Saturday, and I just can't spend $20 this month for this reason. So I say, okay, what can I do to try and get that person access to more of this content? Is it that I announce it earlier so they can save up, so they can find friends to pool their money with? Is it that I try and do more arenas that maybe, some of them are this pay-per-view, but some are open? I consider all that stuff because, believe me, when I was 16 years old, 17 years old, and I was, working and saving my money to try and, buy a car, $20 for taking a girl out, or $20 to put into the fund towards the car, or $20 to watch a video game, those are difficult decisions for some people, and I understand and appreciate that. So what I want to try and do is I want to try and come up with a good balance where people have options to watch stuff without having to pay, where it's subsidized by sponsorship and advertising, or options to go out and do it in a social environment, or options just to wait and say, you know what, I'll wait and I'll watch it for free because it's going to be available. I mean, that's the other side of it. And yes, there'll be people who will complain about it, and there'll be people who will embrace it, but over time, the idea is to try and balance all that stuff out. So, again, I'm hoping that people continue to take the shots at me because, look, it motivates me to try things I might not try. And at the same time, I can handle it. I've got a thick skin, and I get a kick out of it, to be honest, because it shows that people at least care. The worst thing in the world would be if we do these things and nobody gave a damn. Right? If nobody took the time to say, you're ruining it, you're killing esports, I want to do this bad thing to your eyes, whatever it is. Like, if nobody said any of those things, that would mean that you, me, everybody here, the players, we'd be in trouble. But people really do care, and that's a good thing.
I read that you guys had to rush out a few players to get back to their Code A matches. That was pretty nice of you.
Yeah, and the reality is that we did that because this event was for the players. It's about the players. I don't really appreciate the fact that GSL waited so long to make those announcements, and I don't see the reasoning behind it, the logic behind it. They then basically announced it at the day that some of these guys were getting on their flights. And the players, the players were all like, "Look, we're going. We don't care." And you know what? It wasn't our responsibility in terms of having to make that right. But again, I will. As I said, me personally, I would have paid that out of my own pocket because I don't feel like it's fair to the players. This has been announced for a while. They knew that they were coming. So hopefully we can avoid that in the future, and the scheduling overlaps won't be an issue. Or we'll just have to do such a good job here that what we have in the States is bigger than GSL.
You said you had a little bit of an announcement to make. What's going on?
So this arena has been a success. Right? It's been great. It's been fantastic. I think the competition has been fantastic. I think the players have had a good time. They've asked us when the next one is. So the current plan is that there's going to be 2 more with this structure in spring. And what that means is that we're going to do these large draw, bring all the players in, buy them bad Chinese and pizza and feed them while they're here, put them up in a hotel. But again, we're going to have these events. I'm not going to commit to what the pricing structure is going to be. $20 is what we've done for this one. It doesn't mean that that's what the next one is going to be. It doesn't mean that the next one will be free. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and find a way for potentially to have brands come in and become title sponsor around it if they're interested, which we've had some conversations already based upon how this weekend has gone. Partnering with more folks, like potentially getting our friends at GameSpot more involved so that they can help alleviate some of the issues in terms of delivering this stuff at a better price point or even more of it for free. But the good news is that there will be more of these and in spring. So you're going to see a lot more of this in New York City, close to home for you and me.
Saves us some plane tickets too.
Exactly. But again, with players being flown in, with teams not having to deal with those costs, and even opening it up. So this one was invite only because we felt like we had to control it to a certain degree in terms of what the talent base was going to be. But I'm going to have conversations with John Nelson and Adam about having an open play-in component to at least one of the spring arenas that's coming up. All I want to do is get better every time out, and I feel like we've done really well here. And I think but I do believe we can do better, and we will do better.
You guys have a pretty good history with having a international player versus a Korean in the final now. So, what is it about MLG? You guys have pretty good upsets this tournament right now.
Well, I think the structure here is kind of crazy if you think about it. It's not that you've got. Look, there's no doubt that the practice regimens and kind of the cultural component and what's available in Korea allows for the players to be prepared at a higher level. But when you take an event and you compress it down, where it's not the matches happening over the course of a month or several weeks, where what you've got to do basically is play your matches back to back, and you can't just study somebody and game for them. You've got to be willing to, not willing, but you've got to be able basically on the fly to adjust. Once somebody pulls a trick here and somebody goes back and says, oh, well, he's 6-pull, he rushed, or he did this, he did that, news travels pretty quickly. The players are sitting in there talking and watching. So I think one of the big things is that the Korean players that I've spoken to, at least, they come back with, the lack of preparation means if you win this, you really it's a real honor. Like, you really are the best player that day because you don't know who you're playing against. It's not that you came up with a strategy which exploited a hole in somebody's strategies or someone else's strategy or their defense. It's that you just played better. You see what DRG is doing right now. He just was down in that last game. It really looked like he was going to lose, but the fact of it was, he's playing against somebody who got nervous and had a big lead and kind of maybe laid back a little bit. So it's really about continuing and seeing it through. It's executing well in the sprints, but the marathon of our event. So with the foreigner players, a lot of times what ends up happening is they just get hot at the right time. And some of the Koreans will say that they play differently, and they're not so traditional in a lot of their thinking, so they're more susceptible to being caught off guard by them. And I think Huck actually right now is just, he's got two things working for him. He's playing really well and he's tired. And when he's tired, he even said this to me last night, I've noticed he just seems to be, he can't worry about the game. It's just he's got to just get himself up for each individual game. So
Instincts.
yeah, it's just you go back to what you do best, which is you just act and react and you just play the game rather than overthinking.
Is he your pick?
It's tough because
He's going to come out. This interview is going to come out after it's over.
I know,
so you
exactly.
have to
So
take your time.
Right, so my pick is Huck. My pick is Marine King. 'Cause I wanted to see Marine King win one. I'd love to see him win one, but for some weird reason, as much as he can be a wise ass, I enjoy seeing Huck play well, and I think seeing him win another one of our events would be great. For the community and for the players, the foreigner players. But again, I mean, Marine King's just so, he's just so lovable. But again,
I mean, they're all coming to the next event because they all top 16.
The next event's going to be crazy. I mean, we're going to see probably as good a talent pool as we saw in Providence. So, but for this event right now, I mean, again, depending on what happens in this match that's happening right now, I think, Huck is in a great position. Marine King is the kind of a guy who you can think he's about to lose, and he just all of a sudden he just drops in your base and it's over. So I think it's going to come down to not just who plays well that first game, but the swing game. No matter who's up 1-0, that second game is going to be crucial because it's going to determine, momentum, especially if somebody comes back out from the loser's bracket in the extended series, which we've seen provide us with a good DRG series, by the way. Sorry, but don't blame John Nelson either. It's not his fault. So, again, I think Huck's hoping that Oz wins, so he's got that, that lead already, and I don't know. I kind of like Huck's chances just based on the conversation I've had with him. Marine King, I have not gotten to watch as much of his matches as Huck's, but Huck just seems to be on fire.
So one last thing. So you said there's going to be 2 more in the spring. How's that going to work into the circuit? Is it going to be like points? Because like before you said it was top 16 and then circuit and then arena and then circuit. How is it going to work with like 2 in between?
Right. So that stuff will be announced. I'm not going to butcher it and get it wrong, but the idea is that these arenas, there's an opportunity for us to do them and have them feed into the pro circuit. There's an opportunity for us to look at other events that are going on and determine who we're going to invite to arenas or who's going to get asked over. But we want to be self-sustained. I mean, we want to have enough of these so that we don't have to look at other events in order to make the determination in terms of who's going to get the invite. So, the final structure will be determined by the league group, and I'll let them handle that part. But one of the big things for us is that, and it's important that everybody understands this structure for this, it being closed and invite only, was in order for us to get one under our belt. In the future, we're going to have a broader, opening in terms of allowing people to play their way in, because we love the idea of having people just come up out of nowhere and do well here. I think that would be an amazing story, and you've seen things like that, with Leenock winning Providence, for example, or even Naniwa, when he did really well for that event, playing so incredibly well all weekend long. You've got to have that open component in order for it to truly be a test of who's the best, throughout the entire tournament structure. So, how it feeds into the pro circuit, how the arenas string together, all that stuff will be announced pretty quickly. But the good news is that you can expect to see more of these, and I'm excited about that.
So for the circuit, we're going to see the same really cool stream thing, right?
With this?
Yeah.
Well, I gotta say, Twitch has been an incredible partner on this. Right, we haven't used Twitch for our premium streaming in the past because of for a number of reasons. But in talking with them and sitting down with Kevin and the guys over there, they're so committed to doing this right, and they've worked with us. And this weekend's gone incredibly well, not just for us but for them. I mean, we have a real partnership with them. So we're going to sit down. We're going to talk about our pro circuits. We're going to talk about what we're doing there. We've still got the other premium player experience with the DVR functionality. So we're going to look at all those things, and going into our Columbus event, our hands are going to be somewhat tied based upon the deals we have in place, but for the year we're going to do our best to replicate what you see here across the board.
All right, well, thank you. And
by the way, Huck is a naughty boy. He's in the window right now making faces at me. Love you. Such a wise ass. You used to deal with that all the time.
Yeah, thank God he's gone. Don't have to deal with that anymore. All right, thanks.
Thanks, man.